Does your digital life feel super abstract and filled with tons of different apps and platforms and websites and documents that you have no idea where things are? You're not quite sure what you're using or what you've signed up for or what you're even paying for. If yes, then on today's video, I am going to show you one of the most simple yet extremely powerful ways to organize your business's digital life. So if you want to follow along, I will be sharing my own list as an example, and we can do it together. Okay, so what is a tech stack really? It's just a fancy way of saying everything that is helping you operate online, from email to task management, design tools, finance platforms, even password managers. When you have got dozens of tools running in the background, it is really easy to feel overwhelmed. I know for myself, it was a few years ago where I'm like, I know I'm using a ton of different tools and systems every day, but I don't know what they are. So all I did, very simply, I pull up a fresh Google document, right? And I didn't even have them categorized in the beginning. I just listed out every single thing that I could think of that I would use on a day-to-day basis. And then I created little buckets. So I'm just going to walk you through mine really quickly. And if you'd like, open up a Google Doc, follow along, and anything that resonates or that can be, that you're using yourself, feel free to start creating a list as I walk through this. So the first bucket was the communication and collaboration. And these are, very high level things that I'm using every single day. Gmail for my email, my iCalendar. A lot of you are using Google Calendar. Some of you might be using Outlook. I use Zoom for client sessions. I use Loom for client training videos, presentations, frankly, to record my YouTube videos at this stage. I use Fireflies for my transcribing of client or training sessions. The next bucket down here, project and task management. I use Asana for task management. I use Dubsado as my CRM for working with clients and booking, scheduling, contracting, invoicing. That's all done here, Dubsado. OneNote, one of my absolute favorite platforms that I'm using all day, every day. I use that for business, brainstorming, note-taking, copywriting, the whole shebang. All my thought processing is happening in OneNote. For presentations, I use Miro and Hypercursor, which is this guy right here, what's highlighting my cursor. I use a lot of Lucidchart for flowcharts, which is a lot of fun to use. I like playing around with that a lot. For documents and asset management, I'm using Google Drive. For my marketing and content creation, Flowdesk, Instagram, Facebook. I'm not super active on social media, but I do have profiles for both. I'm using YouTube and vidIQ for my long form content, Canva, iMovie for editing graphics. I use Squarespace for my website, but I'm transitioning over to Kajabi right at this moment, actually. Course creation is Kajabi, and then all my miscellaneous tools, LastPass. I'm going to do a video on password management, which is absolutely crucial for the world of digital organizing. I use Google Analytics, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude for AI, and my virtual mailbox. And then financing and accounting. Love RelayFi, I use Wave, and then Chase. I have it here because I have a card that's open. I don't use a credit card for my business anymore. I used to use it at an earlier phase, but no longer. But I do have it here just so that, again, I don't have to think about, do I have a credit card? Do I still have the Chase account? I can't remember. And I just have it listed here as a little note to myself. Now, that might feel like a lot, and in some ways it is, right? Our digital lives can be huge, especially if you have a business or an online business, but we cannot streamline, declutter, or organize what we haven't identified. So the biggest part of this is just getting it out of your head onto a list. So it's a huge energetic release to just list it out and start there. So next up, and I had mentioned this, once you have kind of your raw list already, just brainstorming right onto that blank sheet of paper, then you want to categorize and do a little reflection. And here's a little tip. This is what I did a few years ago. You can take that list that you just brainstorm onto this and feed it into ChatGPT and say, put these into categories for me, right? And it'll do that for you. After you have them categorized into these buckets, I would encourage you then to go through each of them and kind of reflect, what do you actually use every week? Are there tools that are doing the same thing? Is there redundancy in anything? Is anything outdated or duplicated or draining? If you don't actually enjoy using a certain platform. At one point, I was doing some LinkedIn posting and it just wasn't, the right fit for me at the right time. So I just got rid of it, right? And I also used to have multiple tools for content planning. But now I basically rely on OneNote, Asana, and Canva. So one thing you'll hear throughout all of my videos that I'm a huge proponent of is simple is best. Okay. All right. The third thing is just assessing and streamlining. And here's where the real magic happens. With everything visible in one place on one document and one sheet, you can start to eliminate things or upgrade things, or where can you, use one tool instead of two. For example, I recently moved over to Kajabi and I love Squarespace. I've had a website on there for many, many years, but I could actually have a similar, website. Mine is nothing fancy. It's quite simple and I could have that hosted on Kajabi. So that's what I've decided to do in transition this quarter, just to simplify life. No shade to Squarespace, great platform. I would recommend it for the right person in the right business. It just so happens that I can do my website in Kajabi and save some money. Similarly, I will also be moving my email marketing over to Kajabi as well. Love Flowdesk. Really highly recommend this platform as well. But again, streamlining where I can just to simplify things. And Kajabi just really has that all in one for what I need at this moment in time for my business. Which leads me into my final point. Do not fall asleep at the wheel on auditing your subscriptions, because I have found a lot of my clients are paying, $12.99 a month for something they have not used in 2 years. And myself, I am guilty of this as well. So now I do track my monthly subscriptions on another sheet for my financial reporting on a monthly and annual basis. But just as you're doing a bit of an audit of your tech stack, keeping in mind, what am I paying for? And you could, build that out on this page as well in a little parentheses and just put how much each is a month. Or I have a Google sheet that I can do a YouTube video on as well. If that would be helpful, let me know in the comments below and I can build that out for you too. And we're back. Remember, organizing your tech stack, it's not about perfection, right? It's about intention. When you know what you're using and how things are working together, then you feel lighter and more organized. And that's reflected, not just in your business, but in your daily life as well. You'll make decisions easier, you'll onboard clients faster, everything just flows much more smoothly. So if you didn't follow along today, simply add 30 minutes to your calendar sometime this week and list it out. I promise you will feel so much better once you do. As always, thank you so much for watching and happy organizing.